But
We would be honored.
Hey, Leslie's like, you got this. Yeah, right. Avenger 1 being all nice. He could end me in like 10 seconds.
okay, let me explain real fast the maneuvers that we just did as if we were looking down on a piece of paper from a top-down view, okay? Just so that you can understand a little bit of what the theory is behind this, right? So if I'm in the arrow and I'm here, and you're in the arrow and you're here, okay? And I'm going to move my position from here to here, okay? So I'm only going, let's say, 100 meters per second, right? Now you're approaching me, and now you're here, and you're going 500 meters per second. Oh, shit. 500 meters per second, okay? Then what ends up happening is you're going to, like, unless this guy right here starts decelerating, it's going to cause the fight to what's known do this, right? Where I try to turn my nose this way, you try to turn your nose this way, but because you have so much more speed, the fight just, you know, has one of these issues where there's space between the two people again. And people say, oh, that's the, you know, that's the joust, you know, and you go to Spectrum and everyone's like, there's so much jousting, right? Because this guy's coming in fast, this guy's coming in fast. So really they're closing at 600, right? Which means in 1 second, they go 600 meters. And in 1 second, you can't get your nose facing, you know, the way you need to, right?
Is it good to anticipate, like, the closer you get?
So here, watch this.
Like, so slow up and
keep that mindset with anticipation. Now think about this, right? This is what happened, and this is why it's important to understand the geometry, right? So if I know that this guy's coming in fast, and I know that if I don't make a choice, I'm going to joust through, and the fight's going to reset, and it's just going to, you know, guy's going to get his shields back up, and it's just extends the fight, right? But there's a way around this, and it's called flight skill. And what we're going to do is we're going to give up this opportunity here to shoot, okay? And we are going to lead turn in this direction. So I'm going to like use my eyeballs, and I'm going to take a real big guess. I'm going to be like, well, he's probably going to shoot off to my right here, which means it'll probably put him here, which means if I turn, let's say 2 seconds before he gets to me, and I risk, you know, that small little shoot zone here, which is, again, my shields will protect me with that small 1 second kind of opportunity that I'm going to give him. I'm going to give him that opportunity in this joust, right? But what I'm going to gain is I'm going to gain a positional advantage against my enemy, right? So what's going to happen is he's going to joust off through because he's got way too much speed, right? He's going to go this way, okay? I'm going to lead turn, and I'm going to put myself right here, which will be just within the distance I'm looking for, which will be 500, right? Because I have significantly more acceleration from my main thruster here, and I'm using my bottom thruster to push me through this turn, which is known as tricording, or this would be as more what's called a bicord or a bilateral movement, right? So I'm using my forward strafe here, which is 10 Gs, let's say, right? And it's not accurate with the arrow. The arrow, I think, has 12 Gs. But I'm just, as a rule of thumb, and for things to be simple and explainable, it's 10 Gs, right? And I have 5 Gs on my side here, right? That gives me a total of 15 Gs of acceleration, right? So I'm going to cover this distance to this distance right here faster with 15 Gs than I do if I just move on one axis, right? Now you can filter in the bottom thrusters and the side thrusters and all of them together, right, to give you, you know, the 20 Gs that the arrow can theoretically push out, which is what you see me doing a lot of times, right?
Right.
So, right, when I lead turn there, to make this very simple here, I'm going to reduce all the clutter because there's a lot of noise right now in this drawing. It'll be a little bit confusing, right? So we have our two arrows here, right? Arrow number 1 is expecting the joust from arrow number 2, which is this guy right here, right? Arrow number 1 and number 2, right? I'm going to just kind of close. I might even start reversing my thrust here. I might even kind of start pushing back, like, because I'm letting him come to me, right? Like I say this move is kind of like a judo move, because I'm letting him come to me, and then I'm going to use his energy against him, and boom, I'm gonna exploit it, right? So I might preemptively move my nose this way, right? So my nose is facing this direction. A little better. So my nose will face this direction, right? So that when he closes to this distance here, right? I didn't draw that arrow very well. Whoops, my OCD. So when he closes to this distance, he might fire at me. You know, he might take a few shots here, but because he's going to go right past me here, right? Because he's going too fast. His flight path is basically going to look something like this. And he's going to take a shot, and then he's going to try to start, you know, he's going to try to create that angle. And this is where the whole turn rate thing comes into play, right? So if we create an angle here, right? The amount of time it's now going to take him to bring his nose, you know, in a circle back towards me. See, we're creating that angle, right? That angle space that we've created is going to take him 1 second, 2 second, 3 second, 4 seconds, 5 seconds as he tries to get around that circle, right? And what's going to happen is, because I've given up this 1 second of movement here, and I've already preemptively turned towards where he needs to go, it's going to put me in that spot, and I'm going to stay moving in this direction with him. So he might be closing on me, but I might bleed off a half a second here, a half a second here, a half a second here, a half a second here. So it takes him 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 seconds to finally get his nose back on me if I'm still within that kind of zone, right? Now, if you're in some ships, the turn rate might actually be so low that I can stay in there indefinitely, where I can stay there forever, and I can be like, I just live here now, and just constantly shoot the guy, right? A Vanguard Sentinel and a Vanguard series ship has this problem. So does the Hurricane. However, because of the turret pressure, the turret can just run its nose, like it can just turn right on you, and boom, it's got you, right? So when jousters happen and when they do that kind of stuff, it's because there's too much forward momentum and a little bit of a lead turn, or I'm going to move preemptively in the direction that you're moving. And because you've built up so much energy, in order for you to cancel this motion and return to a neutral position will take time. It'll take 1, 2, 3 seconds of full boost to bring the ship to essentially a stop, and then reverse the angle and start moving, which then I can start pre-nosing and moving in that direction too, right? And that's why I always say, especially when you're flying coupled, less is more, because it allows you to be able to engage your targets and be more responsive to their movements and be more aware of what's going on, right?
Gotcha. It's hilarious because the chat's over here like, oh my goodness, we came back to diagrams and notes, and everybody's taking notes.